right, welcome back everyone. So let's start by introducing technical writing as a field and let's discuss what it's about a little bit. So the basic definition of tech writing is the communication of technical information to lay audiences and alternatively technical audiences. So as you'll read about for today, technical writers create documents like instruction sets and medical care instructions that are read by the general public who have no scientific background. But they also create documents like grant proposals, client briefs, and lab reports for audiences who do have some scientific background, but just not the same background or as much knowledge as the writer. So within these multiple types of documents, there are three basic work tasks that we like to say technical writers perform. And you'll see each of these tasks throughout the documents we create this semester. So the first task is that technical writers are information designers. So the question, of course, is what's the difference between information design and simply writing something? Here's a good example of the difference. So you're looking at the dash of a car. How many of these 64 separate warning lights can you tell the meaning of? Some of them are obvious, but some are impossible to understand without turning to your car's owner's manual. This is an example of bad information design. Ideally, and increasingly this is the case, a dashboard would not only tell the driver what exactly is wrong with the car, but also what to do about it. How many of you have faced a similarly impossible to understand control panel on some technical equipment? We all have. Things don't have to be difficult to understand. And when information isn't designed clearly, it can actually be dangerous. But more than that, when information is designed poorly, we often don't trust it. So here's a good example of that. Which of these gas station pumps would you be more likely to trust your credit card information with? For better or worse, we trust good-looking things more than we trust ugly things. A really interesting example of this psychological fact is a 1995 study by Japanese researchers. They created two ATMs, both with the exact same functionality, and made one ugly and one pretty. What pretty means for an ATM, I don't really know. So they asked a set of people to use these ATMs, and the overwhelming majority felt the ugly ATM worked worse compared to the pretty one. Why is that? Well, we get less frustrated with pretty things, and we're more willing to walk through them. So all this to say, there's a reason why I'm making you create good-looking text, from resumes to research proposals throughout this semester. The second major activity of technical writers is user advocacy. How many of you have thought and researched who the users are of your designs and other classes? I ask this question every semester and almost every student says, I haven't done that. In this class, in every single assignment, you're going to ask yourself, who's using this text and what do they want? So designer Donald Norman, calls this standard of production user-centered design. A lot of engineers and designers like to think about efficiency, cost, and creativity when they design products, but they never ask the user what they want or watch the user attempt to use the design before it goes to market. And if the user fails to use that product successfully, the user is almost always blamed. We call it user error. But as Norman says, most accidents are attributed to human error, but in almost all cases, the human error was the direct result of poor design. So here are some examples of non-user-centered designs. The final duty that technical writers have in this world is that they are stewards of writing in the organizations they work for. That is, they teach other people to communicate well. Something I want you to think about right now is who in the past in your science classes taught you how to write. For instance, who taught you to write a lab report? Were they good at teaching that? Were they bad? Good technical writers are good teachers. One thing a lot of students ask me or really tell me is that they don't need to be good writers because they aren't going to write on the job and the businesses they work for have good writers already. What I tell them is, first, at the very least, you'll make the writers who work for you have an easier time if you know how to deliver good writing. Second, although I'm happy to take these people's money for writing for them, why pay someone else, i.e. me, to do something you could do yourself. I mean, some of your professors may have paid me to write a grant for them or a research article. On average, a tech writer might charge $200 an hour. That's money you are losing out on. And finally, it's been statistically shown that good writers and speakers, people who can explain why the research they are doing is important, get promoted faster and paid more. So now into something a little different. Your first lesson in writing, and something I really want to drill into you this semester, is scannability. That is, making your documents scannable. Scannability is one of the most important lessons for technical writers to learn. Because in other classes no one writes scannable things, excuse me, we just write big blocks of text. But in the real world, no one wants to read big blocks of text. People jump around sections, read headings, look at pictures, skim, etc. So you need to design for that. To do this, technical writers use what is called the dual path reading. What your goal will be in all the documents you create in this class is to imagine two readers, First, the reader who cares about every minute detail and will read everything. But secondly, and more importantly, you need to imagine a reader like a boss or client who isn't interested in the details and wants to jump around the text between sections. For that second reader, you use headings, subheadings, bullets, numbered list, captioned images, and short paragraphs. So here are two resumes. The one on the left is not scannable. It doesn't take the dual steam approach and is ugly, and frankly, no one wants to read it. If you had turned that in this class, you would get an F. The one on the right, however, creates a visual hierarchy by using headings and sections. It has bullet points and columns. It's clean, it's readable, it's skimmable, and I actually want to read it.